Josh Barnett. Josh Barnett got asked a question by the Schmo. Who do you, Josh Barnett, believe should fight for the UFC Interim Heavyweight Championship? Now, I would be offended if you guys don't know exactly who the War Master Josh Barnett is. If you talk about the top 3 heavyweights of all time for their time and you don't say Josh Barnett, you have lost all credibility. And there is nobody that followed the sport back then that would disagree with me on that. Save that thought. I illustrate that because this is somebody who follows the sport and has a right to an opinion within the division, but his opinion surprised me. Here's what he said. He paid Jon Jones a compliment and said, but I don't think Jon's going to be part of that match. I don't think he's going to find his way to the octagon anytime soon. I'd love for him to elaborate on that. He did not. And he said, Stipe Miocic has had his better days behind him. He still has plenty left. But what I would like to see is Aspinall versus Gane. You guys ever heard that idea? Somebody else brought that. Maybe it was Aspinall. Did Aspinall call out Gane like a week ago but said, I don't think it should be for the interim championship? I mean, am I close to this? Because when Josh Barnett said, all of a sudden I thought that's a great idea. If anyone else would have said it, and perhaps they even did a week ago, I would have dismissed it to the point that I don't remember it. And that might be what's happening to me right now. That's not the worst idea I've heard, particularly if you're saying interim championship. I don't believe that fight is going to happen for an interim championship. I think that Josh Barnett said the fight that's going to happen. He just happened to dismiss it for reasons that made me very curious, but the Schmo didn't follow up on it. I think we got Jones versus Stipe, but I want to go back to Aspinall versus Ciryl. It's very interesting, guys. I cannot poke the bear of Ciryl Gane anymore. I can't do it. I am trying to get a sign of life from the man. That could be his team. That could be him. That could be a supporter of his on Twitter. A complete stranger on Twitter who just happens to be a fan of Ciryl. I've never gotten it. I have not heard boo. This guy could not fog a mirror. The heavyweight champion who is in a contract dispute and currently has a brace on his leg because he underwent double knee surgery has more headlines than a healthy Frenchman who a former champion called the War Master thinks should go right in for a world title fight. I got a problem with that. I do. Can a guy fight for a world championship based on his skills alone? Yes, of course. A silly question. Can a guy fight for a championship based on his skills alone? No, of course not. Got to do something. He's got to say that he wants to fight, but we'll take it at that, right? Ciryl stabbed us, the viewer, in the back multiple times by doing no level of promotion. He at least said he wanted to fight Derek Lewis and he was willing to go to Houston to do it. He at least knew he was going to draw into Francis Ngannou, who's his former training partner, and got the old coach to tell the story. And we can't be mad at Ciryl Gane. I'm just sharing with you guys. I've poked at him and I've tried, and I haven't done it in hiding. I did it in something the kids call the internet. It kind of seems kind of one of those things that once you say it, it would get back to the guy's management, the guy's gym, the guy's team, or one of the guy's fans. I've never heard anything about it, so now I'm teeing you up again. We're not going to hear from Ciryl, so let the fans tell me. If you're a Ciryl fan, there's a handful of you out there. Do you like the idea of him versus Aspinall? If I was to go a little bit further, do you like him versus Aspinall for the championship? I am not predicting that. It is what Josh Barnett said. I never thought it was a good idea that once it came out of Josh's mouth, boom, I'm in. That's my respect for Josh, though. Not necessarily my love of that fight. I do think it's very interesting. I think you guys are going to turn on the fight. I think you're going to turn on the fight because you're going to look at both of their last fights. Ciryl showed a deficit in wrestling. Tom Aspinall showed a strength in wrestling. So I don't think you're going to love the matchup. Only because you think you already know how it goes and it's going to take you back to that classic matchup and we established in 1993 of the grappler versus the striker. I don't know about that, but I'm like Josh Barnett. I'm a big believer in Aspinall, but I like his boxing. I realize he double-crossed Andrei Arlovsky. I realize he double-crossed Volkov. But I'm telling you, this Tom Aspinall can box, and I would be very curious. to go more on what Josh Barnett said, and Josh Barnett does not spare the lash, okay? He's not like Mr. Compliment. So if you get a compliment from Josh, it means something, and Josh sees something in Aspinall. I want to know what it is. One of the reasons I'm a believer in Aspinall is because I got a mole within his camp. I've seen training video, I hear how he trains, and I know how damn good his boxing, straight boxing, guys, not stand-up fight. I didn't say that. I didn't say Muay Thai. I didn't say kickboxing. I didn't say Taekwondo. I didn't say boxing. Left and right hand, boom, 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 dig to the body. I love the way that Tom moves on his feet, even if he hasn't done a lot of it. And if you did think about it from that perspective, Tom Aspinall, if you've been able to see what I see, the glimpses of brilliance that he has on his feet, if you took that Tom and you put him against any Ciryl other than the one that fought Francis, I do think that you would change your mind on that match. And you're probably on board anyway. I don't think that anybody's pushing back on that fight. I just think if you heard about that fight, you're going to do what everybody does, which is refer back to your most recent memory, what was their last contest, which is going to make you think that you got a wrestler versus a striker. It's not how I see it. Tom does have that tool, though. We can't ignore it. That would be a real weapon if he got in there with Ciryl. But one of the things that stops Josh's idea, right, this is a big deal. Schmo's got a big audience. There's a lot of people like me out there that want to hear Josh's opinion. This is going to be a big deal. My guess is Ciryl does nothing with it. And I do mean nothing. He doesn't reject it. He doesn't deny it. He doesn't think it's a good idea. It's a bad idea. Let's put the belt up. Is it going to be a main event? Where's this fight going to be? Are we going to co-main event? Do I got to do 5 rounds? I don't think he's going to do anything. He will do absolutely nothing. Which is a little bit weird. I think that Ciryl is still in a very good position, no matter how many times I want to attempt to bury him. I think that there's something there for a guy who 1 fight ago went 25 minutes with the most terrifying figure in the sport, and 2 fights ago won a heavyweight championship. I think that there's something there. I'm just not sure what he's missing about the sport. Patty the Batty recently did an interview. Patty's pay came out. I can't confirm if it was true or not. Patty thought it was a little bit low. Most of you guys agreed. Now, all of a sudden, there's a new rumor that they tore the contract up, that nobody had to do it. Now they're giving Patty a 6-figure contract. If that is true, it wasn't the skills that he had. It wasn't the punching and the kicking. I watched Patty's last fight. I was excited for it. I could not for $1 million tell you who he fought. I watched Patty's fight before that. I was excited. I was looking forward to it. I couldn't tell you for another $1 million who he fought. So we know for sure with the evidence in front of us that there's another side of this. That you got the 15 to 25 minutes that you perform up to 3 times a year. And then you have every other day, which is also an opportunity to perform. According to Patty, there's some commas and zeros with that. Aspinall versus Ciryl. What do you think?